Welcome back, everyone, to Embrace Your Power. This time we are diving deep into a fascinating book called Introduction to Vedanta. It's by Swami Dayananda,
Oh, gosh.
published back in 1989,
Okay.
but it's based on a 3-year course that he taught starting in 1979.
Wow.
And in this book, Swami Dayananda explores these fundamental human pursuits, like the things that we're all chasing after in life. And I think what's so interesting about this book is that it really speaks to that universal feeling that many of us have, like, something's missing,
Right.
even when we seemingly have it all.
Right.
So today we're going to explore the root of this feeling of inadequacy, as Swami Dayananda puts it. And specifically, we're going to be looking at the first 3 out of these 4 human pursuits. He outlines Artha, Kama, and Dharma,
Okay.
and kind of unpacking why these pursuits, even when we seemingly achieve them, don't quite bring us that lasting satisfaction that we're all longing for.
I think what is captivating is how Swami Dayananda starts off the book and says that there is this universal sense of lack that we all experience.
Yeah.
This feeling of not enough, regardless of our external achievements. And he uses this term purushartha for these pursuits that we believe will complete us. So it's like we're all hardwired to seek something beyond our current state.
Right, and he kicks it off by talking about Artha,
Yeah.
which is this pursuit of security.
Mm.
And it's fascinating how he uses examples ranging from, the obvious ones like wealth and power, but then he brings it down to earth with this really simple image of a dog burying a bone. And it's like such a simple image, but it perfectly illustrates this innate desire that all living beings share
Right.
for security.
It's really interesting because the book argues that accumulating Artha, no matter how much we get, never truly fulfills us. It's like this nagging feeling that says, I need more to feel secure. Have you ever felt this way? You hit a milestone and you feel a brief sense of accomplishment, but then it's on to the next goalpost.
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Right?
It's almost like we're conditioned to constantly be chasing after the next thing.
Yeah.
I remember when I finally got to see my favorite band live, the concert was a truly euphoric experience.
Right.
But literally the next day I was already thinking, what's next? What's the next thing that I need to experience to feel this way again? That fleeting feeling of satisfaction. Is that what Swami Dayananda means by kama? The pursuit of pleasure.
Yes, you got it. Unlike Artha, Kama is heavily influenced by our personal values and instincts, which are, constantly evolving and changing. And Swami Dayananda uses a brilliant analogy of a garage sale to kind of illustrate this point. You know how what was once so precious to us can quickly lose its value depending on our desires and our circumstances.
Oh, wow, that's so true. It's like that shirt that you thought was the coolest thing ever in high school, and now it's just sitting in a box somewhere.
Exactly. And we think, why did I ever love this?
Yeah.
So it's not just about acquiring these external things or having certain experiences, but it's also about our perception of their value, which is in constant flux.
So true. And then we have dharma, or ethics. Where does that sit into the picture?
Well, Dharma kind of sets itself apart from Artha and Kama because it really stems from this unique human capacity that we have for choice. Unlike animals who are mainly driven by instinct, we as humans grapple with ethical dilemmas and we make choices that impact not only ourselves, but also those around us.
Okay, so it's about recognizing that our actions actually have consequences.
Yes, and Swami Dayananda argues that being ethical is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's about embracing this ability that we have to make conscious decisions that consider the well-being of both ourselves and others.
So with dharma, it sounds like it's about harnessing our power of choice, not just blindly pursuing security or pleasure.
Exactly. It's about aligning our actions with a deeper understanding of right and wrong.
Now, Swami Dayananda also talks about those moments when everything just seems to fall into place.
Yes.
Where we experience a sense of completeness and contentment. And he links this to moksha, which is liberation. Is that ultimately what we're seeking, this kind of state of perfect falling into place?
That's a profound question. And what's fascinating about moksha is that it offers this lasting freedom from that feeling of inadequacy that we were talking about. Unlike the temporary satisfaction that we might get from Artha, Kama or even Dharma, it's not about achieving something new. It's more about a fundamental shift in our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
That leads us perfectly into chapter 2, the fundamental problem. What does Swami Dayananda say is at the root of our struggle?
Well, he makes this really striking observation that animals don't seem to suffer from self-doubt or inadequacy. They just exist fully in tune with their nature. It's us humans who create this problem for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
by making mistakes about ourselves, constantly judging ourselves, labeling ourselves as incomplete or not good enough, you know?
So it's like we're creating our own suffering by believing that we're not already whole.
Precisely. It's not our circumstances, but our perception of ourselves. That's the real issue. And this is where the journey of self-discovery truly begins. He introduces this term mumukam to describe someone who recognizes this fundamental problem and is actively seeking liberation from it.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, recognizing the sense of lack, this feeling that we're not enough, that's actually the first step towards embracing our true power.
It's an essential step. And as we'll see, it leads us to question our pursuits and look deeper within ourselves for that lasting fulfillment that we all crave.
I am so ready to dive deeper into that. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back and explore the path to knowledge and self-discovery. Okay, so we've identified this fundamental problem, this mistaken belief that we're inadequate. But if liberation, this state of complete adequacy, is already within us, how do we even begin to uncover it?
That's the million-dollar question. And this is where Swami Dayananda offers us a roadmap, a way to explore this inner terrain and discover the truth of who we are. But before we embark on that journey, I think it's crucial to understand how knowledge and experience kind of intersect, especially when it comes to self-knowledge.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my curiosity here. We often use those terms interchangeably, experience, knowledge, but I have a feeling you're about to shed some light on what sets them apart.
Exactly. You see, experience can sometimes disguise itself as knowledge and lead us down the wrong path.
Hmm.
We might have an experience that seems to confirm a belief about ourselves, but without proper inquiry, that belief could be completely off base.
Hmm.
Take, for example, the sun rising and setting.
Okay.
It certainly looks like the sun is moving across the sky,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I've seen it countless times.
But as we know from science, it's actually the Earth rotating on its axis that creates that illusion of movement.
Right.
So our experience of the sun rising and setting doesn't actually align with the actual knowledge of how the solar system works.
That's a great analogy. So how does this apply to understanding ourselves then?
Well, think about those times when you feel completely adequate content, even blissful. And then contrast those moments with times when you feel inadequate, like something is missing. These are two seemingly contradictory experiences, both centered on your perception of yourself.
So just like with the sun, those experiences might not actually reflect the true nature of who we are.
Right.
We need to kind of dig deeper, question those experiences, and see if they hold up under scrutiny.
Precisely. Swami Dayananda calls this process atmavikara, which is self-inquiry.
Yeah.
It's about questioning our assumptions, examining our experiences in light of knowledge, and ultimately discovering the truth of our being.
So it's not enough to just have those experiences. We need to actually reflect on them and understand them in a deeper way.
Exactly. And this is where the role of a teacher becomes absolutely crucial.
The teacher, okay, so the guide on this inner quest for knowledge sounds like we've arrived at another pivotal point.
Indeed, Swami Dayananda is very clear at achieving this kind of adequacy. The freedom from lack that we're talking about isn't something you can just achieve through effort or action. It requires a different kind of knowledge, a knowledge that can only be imparted by a qualified teacher.
So not just any teacher will do. What makes a teacher qualified to guide someone towards liberation?
Well, firstly, a true teacher, a guru, must have direct knowledge of what they're teaching. They can't simply be repeating things they've read or heard from others.
Right.
They must have realized the truth of adequacy within themselves. Swami Dayananda uses the analogy of a dark room. If I want to see what's in a dark room, I need light. The light doesn't create the objects, it simply reveals what's already there.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So the teacher is like the light illuminating the truth that's already within us.
Precisely. And the teacher must also know the appropriate methodology for imparting that knowledge. Remember the story of the 10th man?
Oh, right. The
Yeah.
one where the students are crossing a river and one of them thinks he's drowned.
That's the one. What's brilliant about that story is how it illustrates the power of words to impart direct knowledge. The old man, through his simple statement that thou art, was able to reveal the truth to the grieving student. He created a context where the student could discover that he was already complete, already the 10th man.
Wow. So it's not about adding new information, but about removing the ignorance that's obscuring the truth. The teacher sets the stage, but ultimately it's up to us to make that discovery.
Exactly. And that's why self-knowledge is often described as an already achieved goal. It's not something we need to create, but something we need to uncover. And this is where understanding the nature of achievement becomes so important.
Okay, let's talk about achievement then. Swami Dayananda breaks down into two categories, right?
Yes, there's the achievement of things that we don't yet have. like a house, a career, a delicious meal. This kind of achievement requires effort action and is always limited by time and space. And then there's the achievement of something that's already achieved, like in the story of the 10th man, or when you're searching for your glasses and they're already on your head.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
In there.
it's like, oh, it was right there all along.
Okay, so we can achieve things in the world through action. But true liberation, the kind of adequacy Swami Dayananda is talking about, requires a different kind of achievement, the removal of ignorance.
You're getting it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because if freedom from inadequacy is an already achieved goal, then it can't be achieved through the kind of effort and action that creates limitations.
Hold on, I need a moment to process this.
Yeah.
Are you saying that the very act of seeking something creates a separation between the seeker and the sought? Like if I'm seeking freedom, then I'm implying that I don't already have it, which contradicts the idea that it's already achieved.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's why the traditional teaching of Vedanta is so radical. It flips the script on everything we think we know about achievement.
Yeah.
It tells us that the goal we're seeking, the state of complete adequacy, is not separate from us. It's our very nature. We just need the right knowledge to remove the veil of ignorance that conceals it.
Okay, so how does Vedanta, this body of knowledge, help us achieve that?
That, my friend, is where we'll pick up in the final part of our Embrace Your Power journey.
All right, so we're back,
Yeah.
and we're ready to really unpack this whole idea of Vedanta.
Yeah.
How does this ancient wisdom tradition guide us towards realizing our true nature and removing that veil of ignorance?
Well, Vedanta, as Swami Dayananda explains, is unique in that it's a teaching that's actually found at the end of the Vedas,
Okay.
which is this collection of scriptures considered divinely authoritative in the Indian tradition.
Right.
And the Vedas themselves are actually divided into two sections.
Two sections. Okay, now you've got me really intrigued.
So the first section is called the Karmaka, and this part focuses on actions, rituals, and achieving specific results through those actions. It's almost like a cosmic instruction manual for getting what you desire in life. You know, wealth, security, even a place in heaven.
A cosmic instruction manual. I like that. But does following those instructions actually address that feeling of inadequacy that Swami Dayananda talks about?
That's the key point. Even if you meticulously follow all those instructions and achieve all those worldly desires, it doesn't solve the fundamental problem of inadequacy. Remember, the kind of freedom we're seeking isn't about gaining something new,
Right.
but about realizing something that's already present within us.
Which brings us to that second section of the Vedas, right? The section that deals with Vedanta.
Exactly. This section is called the Janakat, and it focuses on knowledge as the ultimate goal.
Okay.
It's not about achieving something in the world, but about understanding the nature of ourselves, the nature of reality. And what Vedanta reveals is that our true self, the limitless, adequate being that we're seeking, is not separate from the ultimate reality Brahman.
Okay, so how do we access this knowledge? Does Vedanta have its own set of rituals or practices?
Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Vedanta primarily uses words, the teachings that are found in the Upanishads, to impart this knowledge. Remember our discussion about the power of words to convey direct knowledge, like in the story of the 10th man?
Yes, the old man's words were able to instantly shift the student's understanding.
That's the power of Shabda Prama, or verbal testimony. The words of Vedanta, when properly understood and received from a qualified teacher, can have that same effect. They can shatter the illusion of our limited, inadequate self and reveal the truth of who we really are.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
But if our true nature is already perfect, completely read, why do we need a teacher? Can't we just read the Upanishads and figure it out on our own?
It's a great question, and Swami Dayananda addresses this directly in the book. You see, the mind is incredibly clever.
Yeah.
It loves to create its own interpretations, to cling to familiar beliefs. Even when presented with the truth, it can find ways to distort it or misinterpret it. A qualified teacher, someone who has themselves realized the truth of Vedanta, can guide us through those mental traps, challenge our assumptions, and ultimately help us see clearly.
So it's like having a personal trainer for the mind.
Yeah.
They help us develop the mental muscles we need to grasp these profound truths.
That's a great analogy. They also create the right context, the right learning environment for the teachings to truly resonate. Think back to that 10th man story. The old man didn't just randomly say, "that thou art."
Right.
He carefully set the stage, allowing the student to arrive at that realization on his own.
So it's about creating the conditions for discovery, not just handing someone a set of answers.
Precisely. And this is why the traditional method of teaching Vedanta is so powerful. It's passed down from teacher to student in this unbroken lineage. ensuring that that knowledge remains pure and potent. Swami Dayananda himself was part of this lineage, tracing his teachings back to the ancient sages who first received these truths.
It's like a sacred trust, a responsibility to carry the torch of knowledge forward.
Exactly. And that brings us to perhaps the most crucial point of all. The proof of Vedanta isn't found in intellectual arguments or blind faith, but in direct experience. Swami Dayananda uses the analogy of a man born blind who gains his sight through surgery. No one can convince him of the existence of color. He has to see it for himself.
So ultimately, it's about opening our own inner eyes to the truth that's already there.
Beautifully put. And when we do, the whole world transforms. That sense of lack dissolves, the constant striving ceases, and we're left with this deep, abiding sense of peace and fulfillment. This is the true embrace your power to realize the limitless potential that's been within us all along.
Wow, what a journey. We've covered so much ground today exploring the depths of Swami Dayananda's introduction to Vedanta and uncovering this path to embracing our true power.
It's been a pleasure to delve into these profound teachings with you. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep those inner eyes open, keep questioning, and keep embracing your own power. The truth is waiting to be revealed.